Okay, welcome everybody. Today we have a presenter who is Miloš Jović. He is a museum advisor in the Natural History Museum of Belgrade. He's working with Odonata species, and he is the responsible for the Odonata collection in the museum as well. He has a great experience in the fieldwork, and actually we also met considering a fieldwork on the Letrusopterus last year. And he had a lot before the field trip with the preparation, and he also joined us for monitoring and checking the behavior of these beetles in the one Serbian population. So yes, and an interesting addition is that he has a very good skill in observing rare events in nature. So when he came and first saw these beetles, he observed a copulation of a pair of beetles, which is very rare because it mostly happens underground. So he's very lucky in seeing these events. So with this, I give you the floor, Miloš, and welcome.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Nicoletta, for inviting me. And thank you for stealing a part of my story. You took 2 or 3 minutes of my story, but okay, thank you very much. I will manage somehow to go further. Well, as she said, I am the curator of Odonata collections in Natural History Museum in Belgrade. And as such, I have a privilege to work with a lot of biodiversity data from a long span of history. So our museum was established at the end of 19th century. So entomological collections start to field from these times. And now we have a very interesting story about mainly Serbian entomofauna. So stays for dragonflies too. And I had the privilege to do the mapping of, first of all, Serbian dragonflies, and then I got the possibility to do it on whole of Balkans, and I'm doing it for almost 20 years. And Nicoletta invited me to show you the results of my work, or some results of my work, and to show you the technique of doing such thing. So let me share with you my screen. Well, today's presentation is called Mapping Dragonflies of the Balkan Peninsula. The first question is, what is Balkan Peninsula? Like many other things in Balkans, it is not certain what is Balkan Peninsula. It has, at least in good part of its north, it has a natural border. Border is presented by the flows of Sava and Danube, but in the northwest, it's obscure. We cannot say what is the real border of the Balkan Peninsula. So some people say it's south from the Istra Peninsula. Some say it's across the Gulf of Trieste. And some people say that you can draw a line from one side, you can see on the screen, from the Danube Delta in the east to the Isonzo mouth into the Adriatic Sea, and that south from that line, it's Balkan Peninsula. Situation is not much better in the south too, because some people include all the Greek islands in Balkan Peninsula, some people don't. So for the sake of this work on mapping dragonflies, also as dragonflies do not understand what the borders are, we decided to be a bit more flexible. So we included in our database also data from all the islands in the Aegean Sea and Marmara Sea, also Adriatic Sea, and also Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary. And also for now we have some Italian data, but when the maps become produced, these Italian data will not be included. So Balkan Peninsula is the largest of three South European island peninsulas. It's in the east, in contrast to Spain and Italy, or it is open to the rest of the Europe, because Spain and Portugal on one side are divided by high mountains, Italy too, and Balkans is widely open towards mid-Europe. Our connection with mid-Europe is Hungary. So second thing we should discuss, not discuss, but define, is what we are mapping. We are mapping dragonflies and damselflies. They are interesting insects because they have larvae living in water and adults living in the air. So their ecology and geography are very interesting, especially with dragonflies, that larger and stronger flyers, so suborder Anisoptera, and damselflies are smaller, weaker flyers, so they are more conservative in terms of geography or changing places. So for this project, I call it project because it's not funded in any way. It's purely voluntary. We use both groups as objects of mapping. And why do we map dragonflies at all? Well, mapping is interesting itself, and mapping anything, also dragonflies and damselflies, can be something like mapping hidden treasure, with the exception that treasure here are dragonflies and damselflies. And values of such treasures are different and depend on the point of view. If you're a scientist, you can take into consideration information about habitat types, quality of these habitats, or changes through time. You can use maps as illustrations of some of your ideas or some of the phenomena in nature. On the other side, there are many people that do mapping for joy. So you can feed your curiosity of just have fun. And wider value is community value. And it's especially important for countries like Serbia who are trying to enter the European Union. So we have to implement many of the legislations, and mapping processes are a very important part of that. So we are mapping protected taxa and Natura 2000 species, etc. Historical perspective is not very good, because you may see in the upper right corner, in the early 20th century, Klapalet said that the Balkan Peninsula generally is territory, something like terra incognita. So very, very few data were available to scientists in every science. So also Sellis, in his monography of European dragonflies, says that Balkan Peninsula, especially that line from Serbia, Macedonia toward Greece, is almost completely unknown for odontological science. And such situation is illustrated with this bar chart. You can see the number of published papers or books that take in consideration dragonflies. You can see that in 18th century, we have only one. And in the first half of 19th century, we have just two, and that rapidly goes up in 21st century for many reasons. And one of these reasons are opening of the area towards world, then changing of economical systems, then technology is rapidly taking, it was taking a boom in that period, late 20th century and the early 21st century. Computers become something that is available to anyone. So people who wanted to do the mapping or databasing were able to do that because they had computers. And that can be seen with some publications that appeared in that period. The first regional, not Balkan per se, but our neighbors, Hungarians, published a kind of atlas in 1994, but these data were a bit older, from the 80s and even earlier. Then Slovenians made the revolution with their atlas in 1997. And both of these atlases were in paper, so printed, and hard copies were available to people throughout Europe. And the Bulgarians and Croatians, probably because of the lack of money, made some online maps in the early 2000s years, and it was very, very useful. And unfortunately, I currently cannot find them anymore. So it was the thing of the past. Then Serbia got its first maps of dragonfly distributions in 2004, but these not species distributions, but more distribution of the studies, of the investigations. And these were prepared for international congress, and it was very interesting to see the reactions of people, because Serbia, and not only Serbia, but most of the Balkan Peninsula, was a white space on the maps. And then there were some initiatives also on that congress and later, so people are starting to gather. And the first great leap was Atlas of Mediterranean, and it included the maps of dragonfly distributions both in European and in North African Mediterranean. That was a very, very, very important book. And then producing atlases became kind of modern. So Greece got its atlas in 2010, and then some kind of maybe most important book for people interested in distribution of dragonflies in Europe is the atlas produced in 2015 by a huge number of authors, led by Jean-Pierre Boudot and Vincent Kalkman. So data on Balkan dragonflies were included in all these atlases. And in the heart of that process was a small, in the first days, very small database called Bob. And initiative was sent to the odontological community of Europe during the first European Congress on Odontology in Porto, in Portugal, in 2010. And then people from different Balkan countries, my colleagues, Milan Marinov of Bulgaria, Bogic Grigorovic of Montenegro, Nurten Hacet of Turkey, Despina Dinova Den Kitanova from North Macedonia, Dan Pulier from Bosnia, and myself we decided to join our efforts and to call people to join us collecting data on dragonflies and Balkans. Unfortunately, such idea was never supported by any major investor. Ministry of Culture that covers Natural History Museum in the first years helped with my travels to different natural history museums and to review the collections and to search for dragonfly material in their collections. But that was it. We never received any material input, so it remained voluntary and extremely interesting. It would be interesting if we got money too, but I'm happy with this. So our job was to compile all the available data on dragonfly distribution in Southeastern Europe. Why it is so important? Because languages that are spoken in Balkan Peninsula are spoken by a very, very small number of people. So very small number of speakers. And if you publish data in your mother tongue or native language, it is really restricted to small number of readers. So we tried to translate data from our languages into English to make it readable by much more people. And the results of that are these atlases of Mediterranean and Europe. And we did it in three ways. We did it by reviewing existing literature. We did the revision of museum collections in different countries, and we dedicated our work in the field for many, many years, collecting dragonflies from the places that were not investigated in the past. And let me say what's under the hood of that database that is heavily in work in progress still. We have collected some almost 70,000 records of 112 species. And the structure of data that is included in the database is complex. Not very complex, but the intention was to include all possible types of data in one record. So if you have not all the types of data, you just say, I don't have it, and go further. So data, taxonomic, topographic, data about collections, include all the data from the labels, information about curation or collections where the species specimens are kept, all kind of comments, and data on operated database operator with name and date, so we can ask what happened if there are some problems. And such data collected in such way had to be verified and properly georeferenced. And the georeferencing was a really, really, really hard job that still is on for many data collected almost 20 years ago. Not everything is georeferenced yet. So tools we use for such work are image editors, because we need to manipulate, for example, scanned maps of distributions, because for some countries, you saw on one of the previous slides, there is very good Slovenian atlas from the 20th century, also Hungarian from the 20th century. Italians produced their atlas much later, and Greeks, but all these data are very useful for showing the ranges of species. So we scanned the atlases and digitalized them, and then used these data for building the database. So image editors are very important. I like open source software, so I work with that. So other people maybe use something else. Office package, any of office packages is good enough. Are used for entering data. Database is in a very primitive stage because it's just a table that looks like an Excel table. So transferring it to a relational database needs some money. So we have to make some material input to do it, or need to learn how to program. Then we use QGIS as a geographical information system. It is very good, very useful, and free of charge. And there is a huge community of people that support that kind of information system and produce all the time some new plugins. So it's quite good for this job. And in addition to QGIS, you can use some data sampler in the field. Very good thing is to couple it with QGIS. So QField as an application for mobile phone is perfect. You can send data to cloud and download it directly to QGIS or to your database. And then, except that, we need some tools to understand what are the positions of data that we found in literature or in museum collections. So you can use Google Earth as a very good something that looks like a geographic informational system, but not fully with full power. Then online gazetteers like Falling Rain or Mapkarta. And gazetteers are also very important part of this story because in Balkans, as you know, or maybe not, many places have many different names for different epochs or different nations call the same place in different names. So I had to produce a database of toponyms. So from different sources from internet, I made a compilation. So now we have a basically functional story about translating names from language or from culture to culture without too much fuss. And of course, topographic maps are very important because when you find data, for example, in a museum collection, and you try to read the label, and labels are often written very unreadable. So you have to spend a lot of time trying to translate it to language you understand. And then when you find the name of the location, then you have to find it on the map. And that's, for me, maybe the most interesting part of this job, because a lot of interesting stories are hidden behind the labels. And it makes me very happy to do it every time I had the opportunity to go to a different collection. For now, collections of the natural history museums in Vienna, in Budapest, Belgrade, Sofia, Skopje, and Iraklio in Prague, Iraklio on Crete, are covered with this database. And our colleague from Croatia, Marina Vilenica, she made a list of dragonflies kept in their collection in Zagreb. So most of the big museums, and too. Most of the big museum collections are covered by this database. And now you can see the practical meaning of such database. On the left side, you can see the data that were published before 2000, and the data published in that period plus 23 years in 21st century. And it's remarkable how much data are collected in only 23 years. And Balkans stopped be a white place on the map of Europe. That's one thing we can conclude from these two pictures. And the second thing we can conclude from these two pictures or images is that Hungarian and Slovenian and mostly Bulgarian parts of the database are very, very old and should be updated as soon as possible. But the importance of such a large amount of data in one place, so you don't have to run and try to find a book, this one, 50 or 60 books, and trying to steal the internet from the rest of the world. So you don't have to do that. With such database, you are quite happy. And our intention is to make this database publicly available when it get its final form. And regarding the maps or the final product of such database, we are aware of different kinds of maps, and we try to include both of them in our database. So database includes data about longitude and latitude, and we use very, very precise data. It's in decimal degrees with 6 decimal places behind the points. So precision is going to up to 1 meter. So it's possible when you capture data with GPS, but with all data, it's not possible. So in such situations, we use some other kind of maps. Those are grid maps that data are projected to a kind of grid. You can choose grid from different types of grids because you have different needs. I think that for Balkan Peninsula, for the size of the Balkan Peninsula, grid of 10 minutes or something around 18 kilometers by 18 kilometers is quite good. Points are not very, very large, but it covers all the data we need for some kind of investigations. So location maps are good for highly precise ecology studies and for national conservation plans, while grid maps, because of standardization of the size of the spatial units, we can do much more than with location maps. We can do some numerical analysis, and that's the main strength of the grid maps. And at least they are good for atlases or showing the species ranges. So all in all, that was the thing I planned to tell you. So if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you very much for your talk, and it's time for questions. Is there any question from the audience?
I think I have. Not really question, but maybe a comment. Can I?
Yeah, of course.
So thank you for this interesting talk. I never heard about your effort to mapping the Balkan area and create this database. So it was new for me, and I'm very happy. And I would like to mention that we have developed an online tool, a database management framework, especially designed for this kind of works. It is open source and free to use, and maybe can help you. There is another Balkan-related project, the Balkan Herp map, herpetology atlas created in Balkan. It also uses the Open Biomaps. This is the name of this system platform, and it is a self-hosted system. So maybe you can set up your instance in Serbia or in the museum, or maybe you can use another already running server to host your project if you are interested and you would like to try. So I would like to emphasize this is a absolutely free and open source tool. It includes mobile application for data collection, web map interface, through relational databases background, which is possible to connect with QGIS. So, and also it has, this framework includes an R package, so you can analyze your data, you can access your data using R, and several other tools is available. So if you are interested, maybe we can discuss it.
Very much interested, and thank you very much. It sounds very promising.
Okay, I will send an email for you, the basic information, and if you're interested, you can answer me and we can discuss.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maybe it can help. Maybe.
Thanks.
Thank you, Miki. Is there any further comment or question? Probably. Okay, if not,
I have one more. This is a question. It's a true question, not a comment. Do you have active connection with Hungarian Ordonata researchers?
Yes, but not with many of them. I have a connection with Tibor Kovac, and not odonatologist per se, David Muranyi. And it's very good cooperation with them and fruitful. So
okay.
When I went to museum in Budapest, David was my host, so it was very good.
Thanks.
I was wondering if during these monitoring and field works, did you find like signs of vulnerable populations or habitats or disappearing species, probably something like that?
Yes, almost everywhere. Especially in the mountains. You know, these small mountains, water bodies are extremely threatened in Balkans. Partly because of climate change, but mostly because of the human activities. So that's why I told you about these Coleoptera populations. It's not safe at all.
Yes, unfortunately, this is how
Yes.
it works nowadays. Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, if not, then it was nice to have your presentation. I am really glad that you accepted this invitation, and thank you very much to your talk and your great work or huge work on these species.
Thank you very much, and it was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.